I saw this article and right away I knew that I wanted to do a video on it because this is something that I had been talking about for quite a while now, and it's something that is just now starting to kind of come to light. Yeah, you know what? It might not be the be all end all thing. It might not be the thing that, Xbox fans are gonna like drastically act out over, but it's one of those things where I feel like that kind of adds up and it's a negative overall for Xbox. So when you see that kind of come to light, you do start to question a little bit of stuff, especially considering that a lot of this has to do specifically with Phil Spencer. But this should be a pretty good video, to say the least. Anyway, if you guys are looking for daily content, I'm your guy, Crap Gamer, and this is Crap Gamer Reviews. I do daily video game content, so go ahead and please subscribe and all that kind of good stuff. It's always good to get people to subscribe, and if you're going to subscribe, hey, you might as well and like the video as well, because that helps the channel out tremendously. So you guys will never know how much, but it really does, and it kind of makes my day as well. So it makes me want to do more videos, and then I do more videos, and it's fun for all. So let's all try to keep the fun there. But anyway, according to this anyway, and this is coming to you guys from Windows Central, and I of course will link this in the description below, and you guys can let me know what you think about it. But anyway, the biggest strategic mistake of Phil Spencer's era is not being talked about enough. Questions of content acquisition have started to emerge once again for Xbox, but rarely does the community rally against this particular oversight. So this is something that, again, is really one of the things that kind of bugs me about Xbox. So Xbox's content acquisition strategy has been the topic of discussion again recently. Honestly, Xbox fans are eating pretty well right now. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 just hit Game Pass alongside Valorant, with all characters unlocked for subscribers. Also had titles like Path of the Goddess and Dungeons of Hinterberg hit the service recently as well. The Xbox Game Showcase 2024 from June gave some of the most exciting and comprehensive looks at Microsoft's roadmap yet. Microsoft is also officially working on the next iteration of Xbox console hardware, whatever that may be. We don't really know yet, but people can be excited about Xbox, and that's, I think, a perfectly valid thing. So the way that he's talking about this article, which again comes from Jez Gordon, is that acknowledge the hard work that Microsoft has done to deliver things for Xbox fans, but it hasn't been all flowers and sunshine, although the brand has been a bit stressed recently with some of Microsoft's strategic decisions, casting doubts over the long-term future of Xbox, like Microsoft bringing its games to other console platforms like PlayStation's, which on the face of it could reduce interest in Xbox hardware and bring out less desire for the brand in general. So it's stuff like this with in mind that fans are often skeptical about some of Microsoft's strategies. Xbox flagship IP has been arguably thoroughly mishandled over the years, for example, and of course Capcom and others have had a run of game exclusively skipping Xbox, including Monster Hunter Stories, as well as ports like Marvel vs. Capcom, which a lot of people are talking about. Supposedly they may be working on a way to kind of get the empty framework engine to work on Xbox. So we'll kind of have to see how that works out long term or whatever. But it's wild, since a lot of these games were previously available on Xbox platforms, and the community has rightfully been angered by Microsoft's seeming lack of urgency over these issues, and perhaps they're all symptomatic of the same problem. So obviously, anyway, I thought this was a very interesting article to kind of piece out and work on and discussing this kind of stuff. And so I wanted to kind of talk about it because I feel like this is a lot of the issues that I kind of talk about. So Microsoft had the opportunity to bring Genshin Impact to Xbox, but passed. That's a huge miss. So these are the type of games that Microsoft kind of passes on. Like this game, I had heard anyway that Phil Spencer in particular just wasn't a fan of this game, just due to the way the protagonist dressed. And that kind of goes in a long way with I had also heard from Phil Spencer that he thought, I don't know how many of you guys have played The Witcher 3, but there's a bathtub scene. He thought that was like just the worst thing ever, right? Like so yeah. And if you ever notice any of Xbox's characters in games, right, like look at Cortana's model from Halo 4 to Halo Infinite, right? And you'll notice like stark differences there. Also, look at any of the female characters that Microsoft has for their their characters, whether it be the new Fable game, whether it be Perfect Dark, whether it be, whatever the case may be, Redfall, whether it really doesn't matter. The women characters are all homely, they're not attractive. So, and they're not scantily clad, and, it is what it is, but it's like Microsoft specifically tells the developers, hey, don't, make Kirby women or do this or do that, which I think is asinine, completely asinine. But anyway, people often don't care about game skipping Xbox unless it's a game they actually want. I'm acutely aware of this idea, and I'm one of the few gamers that want Monster Hunter Stories on Xbox. Microsoft is actually acutely aware of the fact too. At EVO 2024, Capcom announced SNK vs. Capcom SVC Chaos for modern platforms. That is PC, PlayStation, and Nintendo Switch, but once again, no Xbox in sight. EVO is the world's biggest fighting game tournament and represents one of the most passionate and dedicated communities of all of gaming. To have another game like this announced exclusively not for Xbox on such a grand stage does not send a big message. The fighting game community is not always best served on Xbox. Purely for the sake of argument, let's give Microsoft the benefit of the doubt on this one, though. You could argue that fighting games aren't as big as they used to be, but obviously probably not driving new users to gaming like they've done in the past. But as for big games like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, they're a far cry from the likes of Call of Duty and Fortnite at driving engagement, so hey, perhaps it's not a big deal about older Capcom games, right? Well, maybe today, but you never know what the future will bring when it comes to content, and I would argue that you should gun to ensure that every genre is well served on your platform, even if your audience is comparatively small. You never know if something will blow up. A few games encapsulate that reality, like Genshin Impact. Even if we're giving Microsoft the benefit of the doubt over legacy fighting games on Xbox, we can't really do the same for gacha type games, which have become increasingly popular in recent years, and it's something I rarely see the core Xbox community discussing. I can't help but feel like underserving this genre above all others is hurting Xbox's growth right now and represents one of the band's biggest missteps. For those who don't know, Genshin Impact is a wildly popular free-to-play action RPG. This is another game essentially exclusively not on Xbox. It is vastly huge, with tens of millions of players contributed to Shanghai-based miHoYo's vast multi-billion-dollar annual revenue. In fact, they had better profit margins than both EA and Activision in 2022 on the back of Genshin Impact's massive popularity and in-app purchase model, and there's little sign of them slowing down. Games like Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, and the recently released Zenless Zone Zero are pushing hundreds of millions of downloads across mobile devices, PC, and PlayStation, even on the Epic Store, but they're nowhere to be found on Xbox, and they have billions of dollars in revenue. So particularly passionate fans are very popular with younger cohorts of gamers who might be considering their first gaming console. The thing is, Microsoft had first pick at Genshin Impact and all of the games that would follow, and sensationally passed on it. Yep, you read that's right. Microsoft passed on the pitch for Genshin Impact on Xbox back in 2020, according to routers. Now, the lack of Genshin Impact essentially handed an entire genre of games to PlayStation, at least as pertains to the console space. And sure, the vast majority of engagement in these types of games is driven on mobile, but if we're not trying to compete at least on the basic trending titles, why are we still in the game? Having stuff like Monster Hunter Stories and classic Marvel vs. Capcom would be nice to have on Xbox, but I can see they're not necessarily critical by themselves. However, games like Genshin Impact and similar titles that are absent on Xbox, and they're widely popular in particular with younger gamers from Gen Z and Gen Alpha cohorts. These generations are headlining and are heading out to college, and they're playing these type of games for the first time. Perhaps they would even consider playing them via devices that Microsoft has. So it's very interesting to see how this kind of is playing out. A younger relative of mine recently cited Genshin Impact specifically as guiding their decision to ask for a PS5 instead of an Xbox console, and you have to wonder how many people are following that line of thinking. It's hard to know for sure why Microsoft would have passed on Genshin Impact. Perhaps there were concerns about the genre's heavy insistence on loot box style mechanics, but realistically I actually do know, and like I said, it's a Phil Spencer situation. Phil Spencer tries to be, like the Pope of everything, and that doesn't really work out that well. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of reasons why Microsoft continues to fail. They bet wrongly on things like cloud gaming, and hey, let's not go ahead and invest in stuff like Genshin Impact. And then you see that this has like been like the biggest, one of the biggest games all time, even on PlayStation. So again, that's just more reasons why people like Phil Spencer is poor leadership. You have to be able to suss out the future, and this game was huge and he didn't back that up. So I don't know, I'll link this, you guys can check it out. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you next time. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.